Established in 1864 by Scottish immigrants George and Andrew Dodds, Dodds Memorials has a rich history, not only in Southwest Ohio, but also across America. The George and Sons Granite Company, as it was originally known, grew to be one of the largest memorial companies in the country during the late 1800s and early 1900s, and continues on to be the oldest continuing business in Greene County. George Dodds came to America when he was 17 years old to assist his brother Andrew, who worked at a marble company in Indiana. He soon became an expert marble cutter, and the two brothers left Indiana to start their own company in Yellow Springs, Ohio. In 1864, they moved to Xenia and started a granite company under the name A&G Dodds Granite Company. Around this time, Andrew went to visit Scotland and sent back a large amount of Scottish granite, making them the first to import granite west of New York City. The company continued to grow and incorporated in 1911. They also acquired 3 granite quarries in New England: the Victoria White Granite Company in Keene, New Hampshire, the Milford Pink Granite Quarry in Massachusetts, and the Stony Creek Granite Quarry in Connecticut. They expanded the retail business, opening offices in Chicago, New York, Xenia, Boston, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. George's brother Andrew moved to St. Louis to manage the location there, and eventually their partnership dissolved, leaving George to run the company by himself. As his sons grew older, they became interested in the family business. Many of the Dodds locations were managed by one of George Dodds' 6 sons. Eventually, the company was renamed the George Dodds & Sons Granite Company. In 1914, George passed and was placed in the family plot at Woodland Cemetery in Xenia, Ohio. His sons took over the company and continued to expand. During this time, the company was sought after for their quality granite and expertise in construction to help with numerous projects across the country. Some of the most well-known projects include the William McKinley Memorial Facade in Canton, Ohio, and the First Division Monument in Washington, D.C. They also worked with many notable figures in history on personal mausoleums such as the Ball family of Ball canning jars, C.W. Post of Post Cereal, and Alfred Ringling of the Ringling Brothers Circus. Many local figures contracted the Dodds family to construct private estate buildings for them. They include the George Harper family, the Carew family, the Earnshaw family, and the Proctor family. The company was bought by the C.A. Bone family in the 1920s. Bone had worked for the Dodds family for many years, and story goes he had accumulated so much stock in the company that he eventually had the majority shares, and that is how the Bone family acquired the company. During and after the Great Depression, the company began selling off many of its buildings and quarries. There was also a fire at the Victoria White Quarry that burnt down their production facility. This is believed to be the reason this quarry was sold off. They kept the original historic location in Xenia and began only serving the southwestern Ohio region. Locals know the building as the Dodds Granite Company and Apartment House. The grand building survived the 1974 Xenia tornado and still stands today as one of the most notable buildings downtown. The lumber used to construct the building came from the pavilions torn down at the end of the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. The wood was purchased, then shipped on rail cars, used in construction, then clad with Indiana limestone and sandstone. The dark granite pillars adorning the front of the building came from George Dodds' native Scotland. While many who visit the site believe that the Dodds building was once a hotel, the structure was designed and constructed to house the sales office in the front and the manufacturing plant in the back of the property. The apartments above were included as spaces for family members, workers, and tenants to live. The original Dodds home, housing the business for the first 40 years, still stands, but is not visible to the public. It sits behind the current building. The Xenia showroom, located on the first floor of the northwest portion of the building, is a vast space, currently housing a beautiful set of stained glass windows, originally from a Marianist chapel at the site currently known as the Bergamo Center in Beaver Creek. These windows came from the F.X. Zettler Royal Bavarian Artworks back in 1913. Experts compare their craftsmanship to Tiffany glass. The legend is that this stained glass was smuggled out of Germany before the First World War. The windows came to Dodds through the generosity of Mr. James Bolenbaugh, with the promise that they would be displayed to the public. They can be viewed at any time during normal business hours. Today, the company is owned by Eric and Becky Fogarty, who purchased the company from the Bone family in 1984. It is still family-owned and operated with 6 locations here locally in Southwest Ohio. We have come a long way and now have a state-of-the-art engraving shop, which includes 2 modern sandblast booths for engraving, a shape carving booth, and a modern laser engraving machine. These components allow Dodds to be one of the only full-service production facilities in the area. The company also maintains a small fleet of setting trucks, which allow Dodds to install most memorials utilizing our dedicated setting team. We're making strides to become more innovative, but stay true to our craftsmanship roots. We are proud of the legacy we leave behind, not only by creating so many historical memorials, but also by designing memorials for those families still today that trust us with their lasting visions of love.